Welcome to the Exit Teams podcast, where business owners and their advisors get real world insight on how to build a team of advisors and maximize value and exit on their own terms. I'm your host, Bob Tankesley, author of Exit Teams, Build a Team of Advisors for Your Business Sale to Get a Higher Price. Here's a cover of the book. You can find it, that book and all kinds of content at our ongoing media project website, exitteams.com. Whether you're years away from selling or thinking about an exit now, this episode's packed with must-know tips to help you avoid costly mistakes. So let's dive in. Today, I'm joined by a true expert in the world of digital marketing and lead generation, Katie Wagner. Katie is a founder of KWSM, a digital marketing agency with operations in California, Nevada, and Georgia. I looked that up on your website. You're growing and expanding. Katie specializes in branding, messaging, and ongoing marketing execution with the goal of helping clients generate and convert more leads. Her services include content creation, social media management, website development, SEO, digital advertising, PR, and influencer marketing. That's a mouthful. KWSM is a full-service digital marketing agency that specializes in lead generation, and most of their clients are looking to grow their business through developing predictable lead flow online. Katie, welcome. I'm really glad you could be on the show.
Yeah, good to see you. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Well, you've been at this for a while in the worlds of investigative reporting, anchoring, commercials, talk shows, public speaking, and on and on. I guess my first question is there any aspect or outlet of messaging that you haven't been involved in?
Well, I'm sure there are some out there, but it feels like I've been doing this, yeah, for quite a while. And the digital world is always changing, so we have to learn new tools and new ways of getting our message out. So it feels actually like I'm learning a new job every 6 months.
In that case, give us
Yeah.
our listeners a snapshot of your background, if you would.
Yeah, I was a television anchor for 15 years before I started the agency. So I started in radio and moved to TV and worked in TV for quite a while, and then digital started changing TV. Nobody was going home to watch the 5 o'clock news because they could get headlines on Facebook and Twitter and see videos on YouTube. And I saw an opportunity. And so I retired from my television job in 2009. And in 2010, I opened KWSM, really with the thought that we would be consultants and help business owners learn to use these new tools. And I like to say I accidentally grew an agency. We grew from there, and now 15 years in, here we are.
Yeah, that's amazing. Um, from your perspective, when you're running an agency, what separates average marketing
Mm,
from marketing that actually, we talk about exit here on the show, from
yeah.
marketing that actually builds enterprise value?
Yeah, I think that's an excellent question. There is a lot of marketing out there, a lot of marketers out there. The barrier to entry in my industry is pretty low. Anyone can say they're an expert. But I find that a lot of marketing and branding is focused around awareness and making beautiful things and catchy campaigns. And I think that's great. But Bob, what I really like is revenue. And so
Oh,
I think that marketing needs to really be focused around, in my case, driving leads and driving measurable results and revenue for a business. And especially if you're positioning to sell, you really need to make sure that you have a marketing plan in place that can show measurable ROI and make the buyer more confident that your pipeline is secure and that your revenue will stay stable. So, we make beautiful things too, but they have to actually work to generate leads for our clients.
that's so true. I find the number one buyer concern, it always comes up in the first conversation or two, and they're all trying to get their heads around what happens to this company if something happens to this owner who's
Yeah,
now the seller before them.
yeah.
And what they're getting to, I think, is they're trying to get at the heart of the degree of owner dependence on the business. And I've always maintained that a well-marketed brand and company and offerings and even people inside of a company uh, can go a long way to helping future buyers
Mhm.
uh, have less of a concern about that. Could you speak to that for just a minute?
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest problems we encounter. So at KWSM, about 30% of our clients in any given year are looking to go to market. And
Oh, wow.
so it's a space we work in a lot. And most of the time, when you look at these lower middle market companies, the owner is the one who built them, and it's his or her relationships and his or her work and expertise that sort of built the business. They are typically the rainmaker. And I think there is some concern that if that owner were to move on, the sales pipeline would fall flat and the revenue might take a dip. And so I think that's one of the most important things to look at as you're getting ready to sell is, 2, 3 years out, you need to look at how do we take the onus off of an owner or a single rainmaker and make sure the business itself has systems in place to generate leads and growth. And that's,
So
in my opinion, one of the single biggest things you can do to drive more value at the sale.
100%. Totally agree. Beyond owner dependence, you get involved with a client and they voice, hey, we're thinking about going to market 2 to 3 X number of years out.
Yeah.
Are there some standard problems that you tend to bump into? They haven't done this, they've done too much of that. They've never explored, anything that you could bring to them in the digital marketing space.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is if they have an owner that has been generating business, they don't have the proper systems in place to do that. They've just relied on referrals or relationships. And so it really is a matter of building out digital infrastructure to make sure that system is in place. And that can take, 18 months to do. It's a long process. I think the other thing that not a lot of businesses think about is brand consistency and how is your brand perceived in the market? And, sometimes we get reviews, whether it's from a former employee or a former customer, and, those are painful. So it's easy to blow them off. But if there's too many of those things out there and the sentiment around your brand is not strong, that can really affect a buyer's perception and whether they want to take that brand on. If you have a website that's not consistent in look and feel with the other things you're putting out there on social media over email, that sort of thing, that can hurt somebody's confidence in the brand. And then I think also, do they have a modern online presence? If you say, oh, we're a modern cutting edge company, you should acquire us, and your website is 12 years old and looks vintage,
It's like a
that's a
brochure
disconnect.
from the
Yeah,
from the mid 90s.
right. That's a disconnect. And buyers pick up on those things. Not many people, maybe you know better than I, not many people want to buy a company that they feel like they have to put a lot of work into just to make it sustainable, right? And so,
Premium buyers for sure. Those that are wanting to pay the asking price, those that, aren't necessarily looking to pick up a company for 70 cents on the dollar. They're
Mhm.
not averse. They've got the capital these days. We're talking private equity firms, strategics, family offices. They've got the money and they are spending it where they see there's some opportunity.
Yeah, so I think it's important to put your best digital foot forward, right? And really spend some time, a year and a half out from going to market, really spend some time cleaning up your brand, looking at your reputation online, making sure you have that infrastructure and those systems in place to say, hey, we have a sustainable program here. It doesn't rely on a person or the owner. It is about the brand and about the company, and it's a strong value proposition.
Well, this is really hitting home. I thought I was prepared for this conversation, but you're really giving me an education as well. I imagine you too. You look at you first trying to do a deep dive on the client just to see where they are now. So you're looking at things like web traffic, conversion rates,
Yeah.
buyer engagement, other factors. What do you like to pay attention to when you take a project on?
Yeah, when we onboard a client, we are looking at all of that. We're auditing how is their current marketing and website performing. We're also looking, like I said, for reviews and things out in the world. What are people saying about the brand that aren't from the company? And we actually conduct voice of the customer research. So we do
Okay.
qualitative research by interviewing their clients to say, how has your experience been? What do you like? What do you not like? And sometimes, CEOs always feel like they know their company and they know what their customers are going to say, but we're too close to it. And so we can't always see the
And they're
value.
surrounded by people who love to tell them yes.
Yes, yes, which I like on a daily basis, but it's not good for business, right?
Yeah.
And so when we do these interviews, we uncover things that, like, even happy clients say, oh, but I wish this ran better, or I wish it was different in this way. And we can actually uncover areas of opportunity in operations or finance or some of the other systems of the business that don't have anything to do with marketing, but should be addressed before a company goes to market.
Oh, have you read my mind or read my book? Because I talk about
Do
that
you?
constantly. So
Oh,
again, sophisticated buyers, I've noticed, would rather more problems be fixed
yeah.
and opportunities taken advantage of. And I'll stress it again, they're willing to pay for it.
Yeah.
They really don't want to step into a hornet's nest. And marketing is no exception.
Well, and I find that when a buyer is looking to buy, they're looking at several targets often. And if one stands out as,
Yep.
more turnkey, more put together, a higher asset value, that's going to win, right? And
Yeah.
so you want to be that business when you're putting yourself out there.
When I take a company to market, I build what for our listeners, what's called a CIM, confidential information memorandum.
Yeah.
And for lack of a better term, it's a marketing piece of the business. It's got the org chart, the financials, a bio on key people. It's got, lots of description. Fair amount is redacted and withheld, and some is disclosed because it's all delivered under an NDA. But um, where I was going with this was I can imagine, a buyer picking up one of these documents, 30, 40, 50 plus pages that it is, and being able to just pick your work product out of there and just slot it in. Because I imagine you do some documentation and
Yes.
other ways of capturing what you're doing for your clients, and that could be a great add into the marketing piece that goes into the data room.
Absolutely. So, in our initial engagement with any client, we do a digital marketing strategy that includes this audit piece and then a forward looking plan for how we're going to generate more leads. And we've had a lot of clients take that and put it into the document, like you're talking about, to say, look, we have a plan for what happens once the owner exits. We have the 1 year, the 3 year, the 5 year plan for how we're going to grow and scale the company. And that's been tremendously helpful because it shows that the owner has forethought. They understand that when they pull out of the business, there's going to need to be some infrastructure in place. And it really gives the buyer something to sink their teeth into to say, okay, well, now I can predict my return down the road and what I'm really investing in.
Yeah. In this sim, a big part of it being accurate, of course, is an eye toward the future. Here are the growth opportunities that still remain in this company. And so we're painting a picture, again, accurate, of growth potential that still remains. Now, buyers don't often like to pay for that, but it sure sweetens the deal, and it can sure help us stay close to the expectation price that the seller might be having.
Absolutely.
Again,
And if in that strategy, Bob, we can identify new markets or new products or new, avenues to push, all the better, right? Let the next person pick it up and run with that.
yeah. And this kind of gets into, the thought leadership, or what I think you call it brand leadership, but maybe we can highlight the owner or more preferably key people in
Mhm.
the company. Let's make a pitch to the buyer. This is what remains when you take ownership. Sure, the owner, with all that's in their mind, to the extent that we haven't documented it, with all the relationships that they have, to the extent that they're not transferable. This is what you will be inheriting
Yeah.
once you buy this business. Speak to, I think you called it a brand leadership. That's a great term.
Yeah. So we'll start with thought leadership, which I think is a really important part of lead generation. Because if you think about the consumers out there, everybody wants to work with the best company in the market, the top of the market company, the best of the best, right? And so if in your marketing program you are putting out thought leadership and really touting your expertise in the industry and your positioning within that industry, that can make the brand strong. But the reason I talk about brand leadership is because if that thought leadership is built all around an owner or even a key executive in a sale, those people, the owner will leave. The key executive may leave in the sale unless you've got great golden handcuffs in place, right? And so you never want to tie the brand's reputation and their leadership in the industry to one or two people. You want to tie it to the brand, to the company itself. And so I think when we undertake a thought leadership program for our clients, which again we do frequently because it's valuable for lead generation, we always try to involve a lot of key leaders in that company and really paint a picture that there are many talented people on this team and that the bench is deep and they all have this deep expertise. Because again, that makes the asset more valuable. That, you retain that leadership team even after the owner leaves, and you've still got all that deep knowledge and all that forward facing goodwill that you've created with the expertise.
Yep. Yeah, are there, this brings up, the point with it for the forward thinking owner,
Yeah.
2, 3+ years out, who might be considering their own exit, and those are the most fun to work with, right?
Yeah.
Are there like you can improve the kitchen in your home to improve resale value?
Yes.
You could put a pool in the backyard, but is that actually going to, improve resale value? I don't know. Maybe so in the Southern California market. But are there things that owners can start doing today? Hey, we know this is going to work,
Hmm.
versus some other things where they might want to concentrate their energies and time and money, and you might discourage them and say that, in my experience, that has not proven to move the needle much in buyer interest.
Yeah, I think the two places I would invest, so to speak, are in a written strategy and in your website. So talk about the website first, because a website is the hub of your brand and of any lead generation campaign. When people find out about you, they're going to click to the business's website to learn
Right.
more. And so you really want, like we said, that modern, functional, cutting edge brand presence in the website. And then I think you need a documented strategy for how you're going to grow the business from a marketing and lead gen standpoint, which leads into the thing that I think too many people do, which is just start doing stuff, right? They
Yeah.
think, oh, we should do some blog posts, and oh, let's do an email newsletter. Ooh, we got to do social media. And too many people are spending a lot of time and energy and resources just creating all this stuff without a real documented strategy for how is it getting us to our goals? How is it really going to pay off? And what's the ROI on these activities? And I think that's important for a couple of reasons because number one, a buyer can look at all that stuff and say, that's great, but I'm not going to keep doing that. So what happens when I don't, right? And if they have a written strategy, they understand the plan moving forward rather than just the activities that are going to stop. But also, and this is true of any business, not just those going to market, I think our landscape is changing so much. And with the advent of AI, creating content and putting generic stuff out there is easy and fast and prevalent. And so the biggest mistake, you asked me, like, what should they not do? Don't just put stuff out for the sake of putting stuff out because it's a race to the bottom. You're just making your company just like all the other companies in your space. If you are using AI to write blogs and they're just writing generic blogs, you're writing the same blogs that every other company in your space is writing. And when a buyer looks at your company and looks at the other companies out there, they're not going to see any differentiation. And that's bad for value, right? They need to know why your company is special and different and premium. And if it looks online like everybody else's, you're actually dampening that brand value, in my opinion.
I could not agree more. I think we're all kind of putting in that we're all kind of novice users of each of these AI platforms, and we're all kind of putting in the same basic prompts, and AI is responding with the same, plain vanilla type responses to
Mhm.
all of us. Okay, I like what chat just said when I asked it for, marketing ideas. I'm going to put that into my website. And the next business owner says, I like what chat just said. I'm going to put that into my website. The next copy
It all
paste,
looks
copy
the same.
paste.
Yeah. Well, and that's not valuable for lead generation either. Like consumers can't tell the difference between your brand and others, which
Yeah.
isn't good for business. So I feel like we've been sort of sold this bill of goods that we should all be on AI and all be creating this content. Look how easy it is. Look how fast it is. But is it effective, Bob? And I would say in many cases, no. Not for your goals to exit the business and not for your goals to run the business well in the meantime.
The AI right now reminds me of the internet. There wasn't a world pre-internet without an internet.
I
Uh, the
remember. I
late
remember.
the late 90s, early 2000s, it was
Yeah.
the shiny toy, that we just got for birthday as a birthday present. And it came in this package that that was kind of, basic and plain looking, but there was all kinds of hype. There was lots of great promotion around it, but we really didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
We eventually figured out, 10, 15, 20 plus years later, what to do with the internet. The AI kind of feels like that right now. And I've been telling people AI at best right now is like a helpful analyst.
Hmm.
It
Okay.
gives you just basic ground level responses. The better platforms, go the extra mile at the end of its response and say, hey, now that I presented you with this information, would you like me to also talk about this or
Hmm.
that? Frankly, I don't know that I'm kind of in the semi-skeptical camp that AI is ever going to get to a point where it replaces true human thought, especially on the creativity side, that it is always going to be like the internet has become an augment to the way we live our lives.
I I would love to agree with that. I think it will catch up with us, unfortunately. It makes me
Oh,
sad in a lot of ways, but I see it, getting better. And I'm a heavy AI user because it's so prevalent in my industry, but I don't use it to create content for clients or to position brands. I use it as a thought partner for myself as a leader, right? I teach it because I was a journalist. I teach my AI, which is Gemini, to interview me. If I'm struggling with a problem, I say, ask me some questions about this. Help me think through this. And I
okay.
use it as a partner to bounce ideas off of. I drive a lot for my job between my offices, across town, and I will turn on the voice AI in my car and say, I've got to decide about this problem. I'm just going to pontificate for a little bit. Will you listen and take notes? And it says yes. And I just talk to it. And it will ask me questions if I want it to. And I use it to sort of issue process by myself. This is probably oversharing. I'm not a crazy person. But if I talk to it, then at the end I can say, okay, now send me an email with those notes. And by the time I get to my office, all my thoughts are there and it's helped me
Structured,
advance that. And so
organized. Yeah.
yeah, I think that's a really positive use of AI. It's helped me be a better thinker and a better leader. But I don't love that we're just using it to replace our marketing people because that isn't creative and it isn't going to differentiate your business. And I think that's a mistake. Um, and I don't want to go too deep into this, but it's also changing the way that we generate leads because AI is causing trust in the internet to drop, right? Trust in the internet is lower than it ever has been because there's this flood of generic content. And then we're also seeing that people don't click through to websites as much anymore
Yep.
because they get intercepted by the AI overview and they read that and then they leave,
They
right?
leave. Yep.
And so I think what's really important for businesses to be doing to differentiate themselves is really leaning in to creating content that AI can't create. And you said in your SIM document, you tell a story about the business, right? And I want business owners and marketing people to really lean into the storytelling about their brand. And if you're going to write a blog post, that blog post should have case studies and testimonials and stats and proof of results and all of this real data that makes it a story that only you can tell. No longer do we need to create these informational about the industry content because everyone is creating that content and that's not going to differentiate you. Talk about your process, talk about how you approach the work, what makes you different. That's the kind of content we should be leaning into, not generic, just get it up there.
We're back to creativity matters. We're back to storytelling. We're back to community building,
Hmm. All
AI
of
being a tool to help us get there, but uh, the services of an agency like yours to help cut through a lot of the noise and build that community. Beyond AI, are you seeing any digital marketing trends that might have big impacts on company valuation coming up?
yeah, I do. I think AI is the biggest one because it is changing internet usage, right? Sometimes people aren't even going to the internet because they're using Gemini or ChatGPT like Google, right? Now they're asking their questions there. So I think one of the things that I see is when buyers are out there doing a search, or maybe even when sellers or their representatives like you are looking for buyers, we do rely on the internet. We do a lot of research and a lot of data, right?
For
And
sure.
if the way that information is being presented based on what AI is pulling or based on, what's ranking differently because of AI overviews, I think we may be getting a skewed picture. And so it's important to really pay attention to who's going to do deep research about finding the right buyers and sellers and putting those together. And I actually think that's why having a partner like you and your firm is so important because we've got to be able to see past what the initial output is out there on the internet and really understand how the match we're trying to make.
Yep. Yep. Lots of noise we have to sift through as well.
Yeah.
Well, Katie, this has been awesome. We've talked about what owner dependence. We definitely talked about artificial intelligence and exit strategies and marketing metrics. Where can folks get a hold of you? How would you like folks to reach out to you to hear more about the good work you do?
Yeah, I would love for them to look at our website. It's kwsmdigital.com. Or if you find me on LinkedIn, I'm always up for conversations there as well.
Cool. Well, folks, that's a wrap for today's episode of the Exit Teams podcast. A big thank you today to Katie Wagner for sharing her insights, especially at a time when excellent digital marketing can make a significant difference in a business sale. If you're a business owner thinking about your next chapter, now is the time to start building your advisory team. You can learn more in my book, Exit Teams, Build a Team of Advisors for Your Business Sale to Get a Higher Price, available on Amazon. And don't forget to visit exitteams.com for free resources, tools, and a masterclass to help you prepare for a successful exit. Until next time, build your team, sell smart, and take control of your future.